What if I told you that the only reason your soul returned is not evolution, not karma, and definitely not destiny, but a secret sabotage by the Archons that you never realized? If that gives you chills, keep going, because this video will reveal exactly what no one ever had the courage to expose. The real reason your soul incarnated again, according to the teachings of Thoth that were torn from history, distorted, fragmented, and almost erased. Here you will discover what is truly at stake within you, which force tried to block your memory, and why it is vital that you listen until the very last minute if you want to reclaim what the Archons have been trying to hide from your consciousness since your very first birth. Have you ever felt in the deepest part of your consciousness that there is an invisible force controlling the cycles of your life? That nothing you experience is random, and that every suffering, every impulse, every desire burning inside you is not accidental? The truth few dare to reveal is that your soul did not reincarnate because of simple destiny or trivial karma, but because there is a program engineered by the Archons, beings who govern illusion and attempt to prevent you from awakening to the Gnostic truth. Thoth, the supreme master of Hermetic knowledge, revealed that reincarnation is neither punishment nor reward. It is an invisible battlefield, a divine laboratory where your soul must confront itself, evolve, and finally break the chains that bind it to matter. Repeat in the comments, "I see through the shadows of the Archons." If you want to go deeper, check the benefits and become a member. The reason your soul returned is that you carry fragments of lost knowledge, particles of consciousness that must return to the light. Each life is a surgical opportunity to confront your limitations, face the programming of the Archons, and recognize the flame that can never be extinguished. In Hermeticism, we learn that what you call life is only a superficial layer. True existence takes place on the plane of mind, spirit, and gnosis. The Archons created illusions so you would forget your own divinity. But reincarnation is the portal that allows you to rediscover your primordial essence. Thoth teaches that every soul has a unique vibrational signature, an invisible thread connecting all its lives. But the Archons seek to distort this frequency by feeding fears, doubts, and illusions to delay your ascension. You did not reincarnate by accident. You were summoned, called by forces that can only be perceived when you lift the veil of ignorance. Every challenge, every trauma, every impulse you feel is a direct sign that there is a fragment of your consciousness that still needs to be recovered. Ignoring this is allowing the Archons to keep manipulating your perception of reality. Gnosticism reveals that the soul is trapped in the wheel of reincarnation, not to suffer eternally, but to gain direct knowledge through experience, knowledge that cannot be obtained through books, gurus, or dogmas. Thoth describes this cycle as a secret school of the universe, where each incarnation is a test of endurance, perception, and hidden memory. Those who do not awaken remain blind, repeating patterns imposed by the Archons until the flame of Gnosis is finally activated. Every fragmented memory, every déjà vu, every sensation of déjà knowing is a remnant of what you have already seen before, a warning that the soul is remembering itself, its purpose, and its struggle against the controllers of illusion. In Hermeticism, learning to transmute these experiences is understanding that you are not a victim of circumstances, but the architect of your own ascension. Each return to the material plane is a call to the alchemy of consciousness, transforming pain into wisdom, limitation into perception, and ignorance into gnosis. The soul does not reincarnate to pay trivial debts. It reincarnates to correct the distortion of its own light, to recover what was lost in the manipulation of the Archons. This is the secret that Thoth hid in the scriptures, passing it only to those prepared to understand that life is a mirror, and that each soul is responsible for breaking its own invisible chains. And even now, as you absorb this truth, you realize that reincarnation is a tool of revelation, a weapon against illusion, an opportunity to rewrite the very history of consciousness. Every living moment is a hermetic training ground where every choice awakens forgotten fragments of your divine being. The Archons try to block this, but Thoth showed us that by recognizing your own essence, the soul gradually frees itself from programming and activates past life memories with surgical precision. The true reason your soul returns is not punishment, not misfortune. It is a direct call to awakening, to gnosis, to inner alchemy. With each lifetime, the Archons strive to keep you asleep. But the signs are clear: repetitions, synchronicities, encounters that feel out of place. These signs are hermetic coordinates, pointing toward the exit of the illusory labyrinth. When you understand that the soul reincarnates to recover fragments of light and knowledge, you begin to perceive the hidden mathematics of the universe, the invisible network connecting all experiences, and you understand that the real enemy is not the external world, but the chains of mental and spiritual programming. Every prepared soul, every awakened consciousness becomes a rupture point in the Archon's control. Reincarnation is the most precise instrument Thoth left us to navigate the veils of illusion. Understanding this is realizing that every moment lived is an opportunity to perceive patterns, recover forgotten fragments, and activate the vital energy that drives all existence. Those who ignore this truth remain slaves to repetition. Those who absorb it can transcend, penetrate the deeper levels of reality, and perceive the secret web connecting all lives, all bodies, all worlds, revealing the Gnostic and Hermetic plan accessible to only a few. Have you ever felt that strange sensation that life is repeating something you've already lived? That is no accident. It is Thoth whispering through the veils, showing that each return is an opportunity to repair, integrate, and expand consciousness. The Archons fight against this, but every time you awaken, every time you remember, every time you recognize the illusion, you take power away from them and strengthen your own soul. The process of reincarnation is a complex but precise dance, a calculated alchemical machine of spiritual evolution that leaves no room for error, except the error you allow by remaining ignorant. Now you understand that there is no blind destiny, no randomness, only the preparation of the soul, the reconstruction of consciousness, and the silent battle against those who want you to forget who you are. Reincarnation is not a punishment, not a generic gift. It is a direct summons, a call from the universe and from Thoth for you to recover what was stolen, break the chains of the Archons, and awaken to the supreme gnosis that lives within you. Each life, each memory, each impulse is a key. Are you ready to use these keys to open doors most people don't even know exist? What many fail to realize is that reincarnation is not mere repetition, not a blind return. It is a precisely engineered plan designed so that each soul can awaken fragments that were intentionally hidden. Thoth shows us that there is a primordial memory within every soul, an energetic coding that carries the secrets of the universe, and the Archons work tirelessly to sever that line of remembrance, keeping the soul submerged in the illusion of matter. Every birth is not a coincidence. It is an exact point on the timeline where you will encounter specific experiences, precise individuals, and situations that will challenge your perception and test your ability to remember who you truly are. You must understand now that each life contains invisible lessons that operate at the level of gnosis. They are not simple moral or emotional learnings, but exercises in reconnecting with your own inner divinity. The Archons created layers of forgetting and distraction so that the soul would lose itself in the labyrinths of the mind. But Thoth teaches that the key lies in recognizing your own essence. When you begin to notice that certain situations repeat themselves, that patterns remain despite everything, you are starting to decode their programming and recover the hidden memory of your soul. Each reincarnation is a test of vibrational alignment. Your soul returns to specific worlds and bodies not by chance, but because each plane, each field of experience, contains exact frequencies capable of activating certain dormant memories. Hermeticism explains this through the law of correspondence. As above, so below. On the level of the soul, each life is a microcosmic reflection of a macro mission, and Thoth warns that the Archons manipulate these correspondences to create confusion, fear, and attachment, keeping consciousness imprisoned. The ability to perceive these patterns is the first manifestation of practical gnosis. Make no mistake, reincarnation is also a battlefield. Every impulse you feel, every intuition that seems irrational, is in truth the soul fighting against external interference. Thoth details that the Archons operate not only as entities, but as energetic programs, capable of distorting memories, inducing illusions, and generating alternate realities within your own perception. Returning to physical existence is like crossing a spiritual minefield. Every conscious step is a victory. Every recovered memory is a key that cuts through the chains of manipulation. The truth few understand is that you're not here simply to learn about the world, but to reclaim parts of yourself that were fragmented. Each life carries elements of gnosis that cannot be taught through words, because direct experience is necessary to access the knowledge the Archons seek to hide. The soul reincarnates repeatedly until it can integrate these fragments, activate full memory, and finally perceive its own immortality. Each decision, each internal conflict, each sensation of déjà vu is a call to recognize the programming and begin the true transmutation of consciousness. Thoth warns us that archonic manipulation is not limited to the physical plane. It infiltrates the emotional, mental, and spiritual realm. Your reincarnation is the exact stage where these tests occur, where you must confront forces that are invisible yet real and use your Gnostic discernment to navigate the labyrinth. Each return is not just an opportunity, but an existential necessity. Without facing these forces, the soul remains trapped in the cycle of illusion. When you recognize this, you realize that everything that seemed confusing or unjust in your life is actually part of a larger design, a hermetic matrix of calibrated trials meant to awaken your true power. And as you absorb this truth, begin to see that each situation, each person, and each challenge that appears is not accidental, but a precise energetic coordinate. Thoth explains that the soul chooses, even unconsciously, the exact points of reincarnation where it can activate lost memories and confront the Archons directly. The complexity of the plan is immense, but the simplicity of gnosis lies in perceiving patterns, feeling impulses, and acting from consciousness itself, recognizing that each life is a surgical opportunity to reverse the control that was imposed. Your soul returns because there is something only you can accomplish: to recover fragmented memories, reconstruct your essence, and awaken forces that have been hidden since before your first birth. This is the secret the Archons want erased, and the one Thoth eternalized in his Hermetic and Gnostic teachings. With each incarnation, the veil lifts a little more, and consciousness learns to recognize manipulations, to distinguish the real from the illusory, until the soul can finally break the cycles, awakening not only to itself, but to the hidden structure of the universe that governs all existence. You now feel that invisible forces are shaping every detail of your life, that reincarnation is Thoth's ultimate tool for activating gnosis, and that the Archons are doing everything in their power to keep you asleep. Every memory that returns, every insight that emerges, every repeated pattern is confirmation that your soul is working to break the cycle, activate its essence, and finally recognize the mastery it can exert over its own reality. The question that remains is, will you ignore the signs and stay trapped, or will you finally realize that each life is a portal to the truth they tried to hide? What Thoth reveals with the greatest precision is that the soul reincarnates because there is an inner point of consciousness that has not yet been able to break through the densest layer of illusion imposed by the Archons. This hidden force acts as a barrier that fragments perception, causing the soul to lose access to its original knowledge. Every return to the physical world is a direct attempt to retrieve this lost part, this spark of consciousness that was diverted. Reincarnation is not a random cycle. It is a strategic operation in which the soul re-enters the physical plane to recover an exact fragment of itself that remains imprisoned in the density of the material world, a fragment the Archons have done everything in their power to hide. Thoth explains that the soul carries a core of light that no entity can erase, but one that can be obscured. This obscuring occurs when the soul passes through the veil of matter and momentarily loses the memory of its true identity. The Archons work precisely at this point of forgetting, manipulating the impressions you receive at birth, influencing environments, people, and thoughts, so that the soul remains disoriented. And that is exactly why you reincarnated. Your soul detected that something was still distorted, something stolen, something that needed to be restored. Every return is a surgical mission in which consciousness must recover the exact piece of its own power that was fragmented. The hermetic truth is that your soul does not return to learn lessons in the ordinary sense. It returns to reclaim layers of perception that are blocked. With each reincarnation, you come into contact with zones of reality where fragments of your original light are hidden. These fragments manifest as impulses you do not understand, natural talents, repulsions, patterns that appear out of nowhere, or even an inexplicable sense of familiarity with certain people or places. Thoth teaches that this is the soul itself trying to reveal where the next part awaiting reintegration is located. This search is what disturbs the Archons, because the more fragments you recover, the more impossible it becomes for them to keep you trapped in the illusion. Reincarnation also occurs because the soul must balance internal frequencies that have been distorted. This is not karma in the superficial sense, but internal vibrations that must be recalibrated. When you experience something that distorts your original frequency, the body dies, but the distortion remains trapped in the soul. And as long as that distortion exists, the soul is pulled back, automatically attracted into a new cycle. The goal is not punishment, but the restoration of the vibration the Archons attempted to alter. Thoth shows that this process is mathematical and precise. The soul returns exactly to the type of reality where the distortion can be corrected. Nothing is random. Every detail is a hermetic equation calculated with perfection. Meanwhile, the Archons operate through mental and emotional patterns, trying to prevent the soul from perceiving this logic. They create distractions, fears, and impulses that cloud perception. But when you begin to notice that certain experiences repeat, or that certain themes arise in your life as if inevitable, that is proof that the soul is finding the exact trail of the distortion that needs correction. Reincarnation is the tool Thoth describes as the return of memory, a process in which consciousness reconstructs its own integrity. The Archons try to stop this because once the soul recovers its full light, it becomes impossible to manipulate. And here is the point Thoth makes most clearly. You reincarnated because you are close to accessing a level of consciousness that breaks the structure of illusion itself. When the soul reaches this threshold, it must return to integrate the final piece, the final fragment, the final code. The Archons know this and create interference to delay the process, but they cannot prevent it from happening. Each life is an advance, a movement forward, a direct step toward a liberation that few understand. Reincarnation is proof that you are in the process of remembering something far greater than any limitation you have ever faced. And now, as your understanding deepens, recognize that every impulse toward awakening you have ever felt, every sensation of, "I already knew this," every moment when you felt you were reclaiming your true identity, all of this is a clear sign that you are reintegrating your original essence. You returned because something fundamental is about to be restored, something that shifts your entire line of existence and breaks the influence of the Archons over you. The question that remains is, Are you noticing the pattern that reveals where the next piece of this knowledge, the one your soul came to retrieve, is hidden? Thoth reveals that the soul reincarnates because there's a force he calls the impulse of origin, an inner movement that pushes consciousness back into the material plane whenever there are memories still disconnected from their primordial source. This impulse is neither a choice nor an imposition. It is a natural necessity of the light itself, which seeks to return to its complete state. The Archons attempt to interfere with this impulse by creating layers of confusion that divert the soul from its true focus. But once the inner spark awakens, no force can prevent the return. Reincarnation becomes inevitable because the soul senses precisely where something essential has not yet been restored. Another key Thoth reveals is that the soul does not reincarnate within human linear time, but at a strategic point in the network of reality where its frequency can be recalibrated. Each life is chosen as a mathematical point within a larger energetic field. The Archons try to distort this selection, but they cannot stop the soul from returning to the place where its vibration can be corrected. That is why you were born exactly when and where you were. Reincarnation is a precise operation, and you are living the ideal scenario to recover what is missing. Reincarnation also occurs because the soul must pass through layers of density it previously left behind. In ancient lives, certain experiences created shadow zones, fragments of energy trapped in specific patterns. These fragments can only be released when the soul returns to the physical plane and directly confronts the point where the distortion occurred. Thoth calls this the return to the point of fracture. The Archons try to hide these points, but the soul is inevitably drawn to them because its nature is to restore its original light. Thoth explains that upon reincarnating, the soul carries codes that can only be activated when consciousness comes into contact with specific vibrations. These codes are parts of gnosis that were dormant. When you encounter certain people, places, or situations that affect you deeply, they activate these internal codes. Each activation is part of the reason you returned. The Archons attempt to disrupt this by implanting distractions, but the activation happens anyway because it is in the soul's nature to reconnect with what is true. And here is the most direct revelation. You reincarnated because you are in the process of reclaiming something that changes everything, your energetic identity. This is the final point Thoth emphasizes. The soul always returns when it is about to remember something that breaks the illusion, dismantles the programming, and completely weakens the Archon's control. You are living a life that contains the exact trigger needed to awaken this identity. And the question that remains now is this: can you feel that you are approaching the moment when this memory will emerge and completely transform your perception? Thoth explains that the soul returns because there is a specific point within its own light that has not yet been reclaimed, a fragment of you that became trapped within a layer of ignorance implanted by the Archons. They cannot take your essence, but they can induce you to forget it. Reincarnation, then, is not punishment. It is your persistent attempt to recover the memory they tried to hide, and it is precisely this memory that threatens their entire system. The sharpest truth in this teaching is that the soul does not return because it failed, but because it refuses to be deceived. Every time you incarnate, you move closer to the moment when you finally see the trick, and that is the moment the Archons fear the most. They know that once you identify the guiding thread of your own consciousness, their cycle collapses. That is why they create distractions, artificial desires, emotional noise, and false urgencies. But Thoth states, every soul that seeks, finds. It is only a matter of time, and that is why you came back. Another point Thoth reveals is that reincarnation is not linear. It is strategic. You return to the exact place, body, and context in which you will finally have the chance to break the pattern you couldn't break before. This means that nothing on your path is accidental. The people who awaken you, the conflicts that challenge you, and even the pains that move you are all calculated placements to help you see what you could not see in your last life. Thoth himself calls this the mechanics of remembrance, and recognizing this is the beginning of liberation. The soul reincarnates to reclaim mastery over its own vibration. That is why Thoth always repeated that the universe is mental, because the only point where the Archons can interfere is the mental field. They cannot touch your spirit, but they can block the way you interpret reality. Thus, each reincarnation is a chance to cleanse one mental layer and move a little closer to your original vibration. The return is not a fall. It is ascension through attempts. And the most incisive part, Thoth says the soul only needs to return until it awakens to the hidden mechanism. After that, the cycle stops being a prison and becomes a mission. The soul that reincarnates consciously stops being a player and becomes an architect. It begins to use life instead of being used by it. And from here, you must hear the next point, because without it, you cannot understand what truly changes when the soul awakens within its incarnation, the very secret the Archons fought to bury. Thoth states that the soul returns because there is a frequency it has not yet mastered, not a moral lesson, but a primordial vibration that must be restored. The soul can only return to its original state once it fully commands its own frequency, and each incarnation is a precise adjustment within that field. The Archons attempt to interfere at this exact point, creating emotional patterns that keep you vibrating below your true potential. But reincarnation is the proof that your soul has not given up on reclaiming that lost frequency. The second revelation is even more incisive. The soul reincarnates because there is an inner portal that can only be activated within matter. This portal, according to Thoth, is the true inner eye, not the one most people imagine, but a point of convergence between spirit and eternal memory. The Archons erased this knowledge because they knew that if you learned how to access this portal consciously, no manipulation could ever bind you to the cycle. And your current life contains exactly the triggers needed to reactivate it. Thoth also reveals that the soul reincarnates to complete an interrupted energetic circuit. It is not karma, not punishment, not debt. It is a circuit, something you began constructing in another life and now finally have the energy to complete. The Archons hid this principle and replaced it with fear-based narratives, because a soul that understands it is completing a circuit does not feel trapped. It feels powerful. And when you approach the end of this circuit, events begin to repeat with intensity, not because you are failing, but because you are close to breaking the pattern that brought you here. Another reason Thoth exposes is that the soul returns to recover a spiritual ability that was deactivated long ago. It is not a common gift, but an essential capacity that was once part of your natural state. Over the ages, the Archons introduced layers of forgetfulness that weakened this ability. Your current reincarnation is precisely the life in which this ability can re-emerge, which is why it brings such specific conflicts, such powerful encounters, and such intense awakenings. None of this is accidental. It is the process of unearthing something that belongs to you. Thoth also says that the soul reincarnates whenever it gets too close to a truth that cannot be ignored. When you awaken a memory that threatens the Archon's control, the return becomes a natural movement, like diving back in to retrieve something at the bottom. This is why many souls reincarnate after lives in which they touched the threshold of deep self-knowledge. Your soul returned because it was very close to the point where the cycle dissolves, and this life contains the missing key. And now, while many believe reincarnation is just an automatic return, Thoth reveals that the real reason your soul descended again is something the Archons have always feared. You came back carrying the missing piece of your own cosmic riddle, the fragment of consciousness that, once reclaimed, breaks their entire cycle of control. This is not the end of the video. In fact, this is exactly where the revelation starts becoming dangerous for those who run the Matrix. And that's why you must hear what comes next. If you truly want to understand what Thoth meant when he called this world a place where the will is sharpened. Because Thoth didn't just explain why your soul returned, he explained how to identify the exact moment when an Archon tries to interfere with your purpose, that subtle moment you often confuse with doubt, fatigue, fear, or distraction. What I'm about to tell you now is what separates those who awaken from those who continue being guided like energetic slaves. Do not leave the video. Without understanding this next point, the entire revelation in the title simply won't activate inside you. And if all of this is resonating, then prepare yourself, because the next step is where I show you how Thoth taught the initiates to break the veil of involuntary return, and why this completely changes the way you see your destiny. But before I reveal that, let me give you something brief, yet decisive.